Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mina Sharif. I am the communications manager with Jumpstart Refugee Talent. I'm joined today by my colleague, Wasim Jawad, Senior Program Manager of Jumpstart's Entrepreneurship Support Team, and my Jumpstart Communications Team colleagues, Amanda Fortier and Yassine Hamzawi, as well as our partners from the Canadian Aboriginal and Minority Supplier Council, CAMSC, with whom we have the great pleasure of co-hosting this three-part webinar series dedicated to supporting refugee entrepreneurs on their small business journeys in Canada. Today's event marks our third and final session in the series, and we are grateful to CAMSC for helping put together today's exciting session covering marketing fundamentals to build a strong brand for your business. Before we begin, please note that this session is being recorded. If you prefer to keep your cameras off, please feel free to do so. We'll continue with a land acknowledgement. As we gather on this virtual platform, we take a moment to recognize the importance of the lands we call home. From coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territories of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Let's pause in reflection, not only to acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, but also to commit ourselves to listening, learning, and taking action towards reconciliation. Each of us has a role to play in building respectful relationships with Indigenous peoples and in shaping a future rooted in justice, understanding, and mutual respect. Moving on to some housekeeping notes before we begin. To help us get a sense of who's in the room, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. You can share your name and perhaps tell us where you're calling in from. If you have any questions during the session, please enter them in the chat, or you can hold them for the end for the Q&A portion, where we'll do our best to be sure there's time to address each question. A short survey will also be shared with all of you in the post-event email at the end of today's session, and we'd really appreciate your feedback. So now it is my great pleasure to introduce you to today's presenters and speakers. Danai Makor is the Supplier Certification and Engagement Lead at CAMSC. Thiago Kubota is the Marketing and Communications Manager at CAMSC. And Yash Makhija is the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at CAMSC as well. Wasim Jawad will also be presenting as the Senior Program Manager of Jumpstart's Entrepreneurship Support Team. And I will now pass the floor to you, Danai.
Thank you, Mina, and welcome everyone. As Mina mentioned, my name is Danai, and I work at CAMSC as a Supplier Certification and Engagement Lead. So before we get into the main session, which is the Marketing 101, I will speak briefly about what CAMSC does and how suppliers and business owners such as yourselves can get certified. So CAMSC, or the Canadian Aboriginal and Minority Supplier Council, certifies Indigenous and visible minority-owned businesses. And the goal of that certification is to get them or to connect them with procurement opportunities within Canada and across the world. So supplier diversity is meant to create inclusive supply chains by connecting diverse businesses to procurement opportunities. It's not a social program or a compromise on cost, quality, or service. So supplier diversity matters because there's obviously a business case for it. So over $1 billion is spent annually with CAMSC certified suppliers alone. CAMSC currently has 183 corporate members as well as 776 certified suppliers. And Canada's growing diverse population is one of the primary drivers for inclusive procurement. And we also have quite a few corporate members, which are leading corporations in Canada that are leveraging and creating supplier diversity programs. So if you're thinking about getting certified and wondering why, some of the benefits of getting certified is that it gives you access to exclusive networking events. So we recently had our Business Achievements Awards Gala, and our procurement fair was in April. So these in-person events are held on an annual basis. We do also have several virtual capacity building and networking events that give you access to these procurement opportunities. So we've talked about our corporate members. So getting certified gives you visibility to those corporate buyers and other suppliers as well. You also get capacity building for your business through the webinars and workshops we talked about. If you're thinking about expanding your business, looking to expand your business, or you're already doing business abroad, we also have trade missions where we support suppliers in getting global supplier council connections. We also collaborate with organizations like Jumpstart, Futurepreneur, and the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, to name a few. So to be eligible to get certified, your business must operate in Canada. It must be a for-profit enterprise, supply products to other businesses, so be B2B, can be a combination of both B2B and B2C. At least 51% of your business must be owned, managed, and controlled by visible minorities and or Indigenous persons, and the owner or owners must be Canadian citizens or permanent residents. We also have reciprocity with the National Minority Supplier Development Council, or the NMSDC, so that allows you to also get certified with our US counterpart. So the TENT program is a program that is sponsored by TD that allows refugee-owned businesses to obtain certification at no cost for the first year. So if you're thinking about getting certified and you're not too sure whether or not it will align with your business, it would be a great opportunity to take advantage of so you can feel it out and see the benefits for yourself without having to make that initial investment. We also have the supplier certification sponsorship, which is a corporate member and supplier funded program that also covers the first year of certification costs for new suppliers. The only difference is that you do have to apply for this and then be approved for it versus the TEN program, which is for all refugee-owned businesses. To get certified, you do need to apply within our portal. So at the beginning, you will be prompted to pay a $295 admin fee. If you're a refugee-owned business, like I said, you're not paying anything for the first year, so you just let us know that you've started an application and we'll bypass the fee. Upload your required documents, pay the certification fee, which again, you're not paying, so this will be bypassed. We process all applications within 25 business days, or if you've opted to pay a $300 rush fee within 12 business days. So if you're an incorporated business, you'll need to provide articles of incorporation, share certificates, and a shareholders register, company bylaws, as well as an ownership structure, and a master business license if one is required for your business. For sole proprietorships, we only need a master business license. For partnerships, your partnership agreement and partnership registration document. For all businesses, we do also require 2 years of financials, so profit and loss statement and a balance sheet. You can also provide your tax documents. If you're a new business and you don't have financials, we will accept a business plan and financial projection. So we will forward this deck, but you're also welcome to contact us if you'd like to have a more detailed discussion about certification and figure out if it's the right fit. So I will stop here and pass the floor back to Mina, or to Thiago actually, to begin his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danai. Welcome, everyone. It's really nice to be here with you today for this webinar. Thanks for joining us today. Let me start sharing my screen. All right, so we're here to discuss marketing essentials, how to build a strong brand for your business. It's a pleasure for us to, from CAMSC, to be presenting this portion of the Jumpstart series that we built together, and we hope you enjoy. Just a quick disclaimer. For the sake of time, we're not going to be diving deep in the theme of AI. So we're going to treat it as a platform, as a tool for the matter of discussion. But of course, you can ask us questions later on, but it would require a whole webinar only to get to the tip of the iceberg. So we're not going that deep in that front, but we're going to be talking about how to build a structure so you can implement different platforms. So rest assured, you will have the platforms and the tools in the end of this webinar to apply AI to your business if that's what you would like to do. That said, let's kick off. And today we're going to start with two different fronts in our agenda. So first one is asking the questions. A lot of the marketing work is asking the right questions. So when we talk about brand, we inevitably need to talk about marketing. So why marketing is important? What's your value proposition if you have that clear? Who's your target audience? Who are your competitors? And once you have that defined, how to use that in different channels, how to look at the customer journey map, how to understand social media mix and when to use what, and the key takeaways and resources that we're going to give you so that you can take the next step and dive deeper into the themes that we're discussing today. So on to the first question. Why is marketing important? Is not just to help you sell products and services. It's actually to build the voice of your business. If you want to have longevity, you need to think about your business in the long run. So it's not just about selling products right now. It's about creating a relationship with your customer base. So marketing will help you craft the voice of your business, how you communicate with your prospective clients, how you address your current database is what marketing essentially does. Perception is reality is the second pill here. So your brand is how you are perceived, not necessarily how you build your brand. So if people think you are technological, it really speaks to a point where you will have that advantage. But even if you're putting a lot of resource in technology, if you're perceived as archaic, if you're perceived as someone who is not keeping up, it doesn't matter because perception is actually reality. And then marketing also helps you build trust and loyalty. So a solid brand is what makes you resilient. And when you think about cases of brands like Coca-Cola, Timmy's, Trader Joe's, those are all brands that have been there for quite some time, and there's a reason for it. And we're going to be exploring a little bit more on that. With that, we entered the value proposition portion. So what makes your business unique is your first question. And sometimes why is more important than what. So always work on the whys. Why you do what you do is oftentimes more important than what you do. Many people will operate in the same space. You will have lots of competitors. What actually makes you different is the reason why you do what you do. People care about connection. People care about intention and purpose. So that's something you can use to create connection with people. People connect to people, not necessarily to brands. Brands are people as well. So think about that when you're starting to build your value proposition. Have a clear offer. When you're offering a new solution for an old problem, or is your product entirely new? You actually identified a new problem that you want to address. No one else is doing that. That might be the case, but understand your offer and what problem are you solving. That's really, really important. And lastly, work on your elevator pitch. Always think about if you only have 3 floors and you're in an elevator and you need to explain to someone thoroughly like what kind of business you do, what does your business sell, do you have the capacity in those 30 seconds, 20 seconds to explain your business thoroughly and clearly? If you don't, then practice till you get that done. So you got to explain your why you're different, what you do, and why you do that. One example here that I wanted to bring to you that I don't think it's a very good one for a value proposition is this one here that I wanted to have a look for a minute. And the reason why I think it's not that great is because when we talk about the productivity platform that brings the right people, information, and tools together to get the work done, we could be talking about any of these players in the market, right? It could be Trello, it could be Monday, it could be Asana, it could be Zendesk, it could be Slack, it could be Teams, it could be anything. In this case, this was actually extracted from Monday, which the platform is great, but I don't think their value proposition is looking that good. It doesn't explain why they're unique. On the other hand, when we have something that truly speaks shortly about a couple other things, like let's say, please look at the second example and try to figure out who are we talking about. More than just coffee, we embody the Canadian community spirit. Do you have any guesses on whose value proposition this is? You can put in the chat if you like. I'm sure you will have that sorted. So yeah, and well, if you said Temis, then yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying that it's completely true in everything that they do, but I must say when I say coffee and Canadian in the same phrase, it always will bring us back to the same company. So they are great at that, and this is actually what they're using in 2025 as part of their value proposition. So I think in this case, you can see the difference between a value proposition that was designed to explain a lot of things that you do, what you do, but fails to explain why you do things in the Monday case. And another value proposition that actually explains why you do the things you do, and what you do is just a consequence. So what you do is coffee. What you do is embodying the Canadian community spirit, right? So think about those things when you start to write the brand guidelines, when you start to write the history of your brand. If you're having trouble starting to write down what are the differentiators, what are your weaknesses and strengths, many of you might be familiar with this, but if not, then please start with a SWOT analysis, right? So this is an analysis in which you will put 4 different square circles, whatever you like, but basically these 2 are internal factors, and I'm not going to dive too deep into it. You can Google that, and there's a lot of different sources for it. And opportunities and threats are external factors. So you just start write down your strengths, your weaknesses, and in terms of external factors, what are opportunities that are happening around me and what are threats that are also taking place for my business. And once you write those down, try doing the same with your competitors if you have any in operating in your market already. This should give you a clear idea of strengths in which you can put your communications in which you can promote as a differentiator, and weaknesses that you have to work on if your competitors are doing a better job. So this will also help you create a consistent brand. SWOT analysis is not just for branding, but it's important as you create the foundations for a solid brand. Next, we'll be talking a little bit about who is your target audience, right? Because once you tell a story, you need to know who you're telling the story to, because if it is of utmost importance that you craft a story that resonates with your audience. So who is your audience? There are 3 main columns that I will explore here, but this is almost infinite, the ways in which you can separate and create different clusters for your audiences. But these 3 are the main ones for you to start thinking about. The first one, demographic. So of course, this is pretty obvious. Start with age, gender, income. Psychographic talks about lifestyle, their values, their personalities. And behavioral, which is really important as well, is how engaged they are. Do they need a lot of hand holding? Do they have channel preferences? Yash is going to be talking a little bit more about channel and channel preferences, but um, let's say some people are still on pay TV. Some people are not anymore. Some people are on YouTube. Some people are only on TikTok. So you need to understand where they live, where they spend time, right? And their buying motivation. Do they buy things because they like to buy things for themselves? Do they prefer to buy your product when they're gifting it to someone else? Those are all important things to help you create the user or the buyer persona that you will then create lookalikes for digital campaigns or just to understand who is your target audience and how will you be targeting those folks. One example, actually two examples here of brands that operate in this environment in which, depending on the audience, like this unapologetic kind of way of promoting their brand might be seen as something negative, but because they know their audience so well, I think they are doing a great job, are both Elf Cosmetics, which tend to use their name always in like provocative ways. So tying that to sayings or it's just like a funky way to use your own brand and your own name. So it doesn't work for every single brand, but they are at a stage in which they know their audience very well and they know it resonates with them. And we should respect that because once you know your audience, you can do things like this. And the other case is this, I got this directly from someone who actually purchased this product from Duolingo merch store. And I don't know if you all can see this, but they got a note, a thank you note with this product saying, I hope you enjoy your purchase from my merch store. I also hope that you do your daily lessons because if you don't, well, let's just say I know where you live now. So not all brands can pull something like this off, but I think they did nicely on this one because they truly know their audience. Now I'm going to be passing things over to Yash Makhija, the marketing coordinator at CAMSC, and he's going to be talking a little bit about channels and the customer journey and how to blend those things together as we build a great brand.
Thank you, Thiago. It's great to join you guys this lovely afternoon. So let's begin. As Thiago said, the foundation, let's start with one of the most important parts of your marketing foundation, your omni-channel presence. Simply put, omni-channel presence means your brand should be present where your audience already is. And every touch point, whether online or offline, should feel connected and consistent. On one side, you have digital channels like social media, email marketing, search engine optimization, and paid ads. And on the other, you have digital channels, sorry, not digital, you have traditional channels like events, flyers, community word of the mouth. Both play different roles. Traditional builds trust and credibility. People see your name, they remember it. While on the other hand, digital helps you personalize and measure. You learn what works and what doesn't. Together, both digital and traditional multiply your impact. For example, if you run a small retail store, you host a community pop and hand out flyers with a QR code that leads to your Instagram page. After the event, you can obviously send an email campaign thanking visitors or maybe offering them an incentive in form of a discount or a cash voucher or something. This will help you enforce both digital and traditional platforms. One builds awareness, other keeps the relationship going. That's what omni-channel really means. Your customers sh- shouldn't have to find your brand should find them wherever they are. Can we go to the next slide, Thiago, please? Now, let's take the idea one step further with the customer journey map. Every brand experience follows this path: awareness, consideration, purchase, retention, and advocacy. Omni-channel products, omni-channel marketing supports each of those stages. Someone might discover you through an Instagram ad, that's awareness. Then they check your reviews or your website, that's consideration. Or someone may, if they buy the product, that's a purchase. And later, when they get a follow-up email or a loyalty offer, that's retention. Finally, they tell others about you or leave a review, that's advocacy. When your channels are connected, this journey feels natural. Your audience moves from one touch point to the next without losing your message. That's how you build not just conversions, but brand consistency and trust. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, why do we need to blend this both? Well, all of this can reinforce each other. It also can lead you to have a wider reach and touch points. And it can also help you collect data from the digital sources and collect data from the offline sources, that which is your traditional sources. And it will help you altogether build a community which is engaged, which is very essential for small businesses. Can we go to the next slide, please? Just like how I pointed out the store example, this is how to use this in practice, where you have a pop-up store or where you have an event where you can use your QR codes in print ads or any events that you're having to drive customers online. After hosting this event, you can follow up with an email campaign asking for feedback. And then the encourage satisfied customers from offline interactions can share the reviews or referrals online. This shows a cohesion of efforts towards your common goals. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now we talk about social media mix. When and why? This is the channel most of us interact with daily. This provides us a direct line with our audience. But the real question is when to post or how. It's why you're posting in the first place. Social media gives you the direct line. It's where your brand voice comes alive. It shows where you are, not just what you sell. Now that we have covered how channels work together, let's zoom in on one tool almost every business uses, which is your Instagram. So the goal isn't to be everywhere. It's exactly where your audience is. For example, a fashion jewelry brand will try to focus all their attention on TikTok and Instagram. For a B2B company, LinkedIn might be the strongest platform. If you're a lifestyle or a creative brand, Instagram and TikTok should give you more traction. But regardless of platform, consistency and purpose are key. Social media isn't about selling, it's about storytelling. Share your journey, your values, and your why. That builds trust. People want to buy from brands that feel human, relatable, and authentic. And remember, engagement doesn't end once you post. Respond to comments, answer DMs, and show appreciation to your followers. Visual story and visual storytellings and visual, they go hand in hand. Short videos before and after shots, they go, all the behind the scenes can make a huge difference. Those all together one-on-one interactions are what turns casual followers to loyal customers. Can we go to the next slide, please? Now we deep dive into the case study of Nike. Let's look how large brands like Nike apply omni-channel strategies to strengthen their identity. Nike is one of the best examples of blending technology, retail, and storytelling. Their app, their website, and their stores all work together. If you browse online, Nike remembers your shoe size, your workout habits. If you're using their workout inbuilt platform, you will get Nike can have your workout habits also stored with your buying preferences, your shopping preferences. When you visit a store, the staff can see all the information and tailor their suggestions. Whether you're scrolling the app, walking into a store, or seeing a billboard somewhere, the story is the same: performance and empowerment. Nike isn't selling shoes, they are selling a lifestyle of moment, achievement, and confidence. For small businesses, I believe the lesson is simple. Personalization can build loyalty. You don't need Nike's data systems. You can start small. Even remembering customers' birthdays, past purchases, or sending a thank you note builds the same connection. Can we go to the next case study, please? Now we talk about a homegrown Canadian success story, which all of us know. Majuri. Majuri disrupted the fine jewelry industry with one idea: buy jewelry for yourself. Their messages focuses on empowerment and self-worth, and that emotion flows through every channel. On Instagram, they show real women, not models. And in store, the place feels warm, minimalistic, and confident, the same tone that you get on from their website. Whether online or offline, the brand messaging remains consistent. Celebrate yourself. For smaller brands, Majori's lesson is about knowing your why. Your purpose shapes your tone, visuals, and voice across every channel. When you know your why you exist, your message becomes magnetic. Now I will pass it on to Thiago for taking over the key takeaways on building a strong brand.
Thank you so much, Yash. So there are a couple of things, of course, that we discussed today, and you will have access to this presentation and recording after, so you can recap in more detail. But there are a couple of points here that I would like to stress. So again, even when you look at large brands, some of them will forget that why is really important. So people connect to people. Understanding the story and the intention behind your brand is of utmost importance. So always think about the why. The what you do is always the easier portion to explain and to add to your story. But the why you do what you do and who you serve by doing that, what kind of problem you are trying to solve, and the reasons why, this is what matters to connect to people. Understanding your target. It doesn't matter if you create a beautiful presentation, a beautiful piece of video, if no one's gonna watch it. So understand your target, understand who they are, where they live, as Yash pointed out. Sometimes they live on LinkedIn, which is mainly our case for CAMSC. Sometimes they will live mostly on Instagram, but maybe you're focusing on Gen Z and they're on TikTok or even Reddit or even Discord. So first of all, understand who they are and then select your channels based on that. Build a clear value proposition. Easy to understand always means easy to buy. If I have to spend a whole day trying to understand what you're selling or what you're trying to sell me into, I won't buy it, or it will delay my purchase or hiring your service or my repurchase process. So again, make communication easy when you're thinking about your brand. Perception is reality. So again, try to look always from the perspective of your customer, not from your own perspective, because how they perceive your business is actually how your business is gonna is actually how your business is. It's not how you look at your business, right? You know things that they don't, but you must look from their perspective. And then one of the most important things is build community. This is what is going to take you far. So if you're thinking about longevity, you must think about building community. So an investment of time in thinking your brand thoroughly, in thinking about your value proposition, in answering people, and in commenting when people repost and share your content. Those things are the right way to spend your time when you're trying to build community, and community will pay off on the long run. The last message that we want to leave you with today is consistency is always more important than trends. So as much as we live in a society where you will always see a new trend, something new coming up, a new trendy video, a new way to do this, we all know that the brands that we respect and that we admire have been there for quite some time, not because they're aiming for trends. There's nothing wrong in using trends to promote your brand, but if you don't have consistency in the work that you do, it won't matter in the long run. So always think about keeping your work consistent before you actually jump on any sort of trend bandwagon. And with that, we're gonna leave you just showcasing here a couple of resources that you will have access later on. So Yash did a great job of putting all the links here to make your job easier when starting to build your customer journey, a marketing plan, design and branding. All you need to kind of start to take the next step after this presentation is here for you. And lastly, of course, we're open to questions, and please reach out. We'll be happy to help you wherever you are in terms of your journey. And yeah, although some of the questions that you already pointed out when you register for this, we cannot necessarily address. We are happy to take on any marketing related questions through our emails. And with that, I guess we can talk a little bit about building a brand if you have any questions. Yes.
Oh, Tiago, I believe that Denai will be leading a Q&A. Would you like to do that now or
Yeah. Oh, sorry about
before?
that. Yeah, let's do that now then. I think
Okay.
while it's
Would you
still
like to do that?
fresh.
Sure, sure. And then we'll move on to our next speaker afterwards. Denai, I'll give the floor to you to lead the Q&A.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Tiago, for a great presentation. The only conversation or some questions are not coming up. So Estefania asked, what about handmade products? Not sure if you know what that's referring to, but if not, Estefania, if you don't mind either unmuting or clarifying in the chat. While we wait for Estefania, Anna asked, what is the best AI tool for a marketing campaign?
I think that's an interesting question. As for the AI tool, I guess the first question is, do you have the prompts that you would like to ask, or what do you want to create? Like what type of marketing campaign? Because marketing campaign is really broad. But I would say the first thing is understanding your AI policy. So if you don't have an AI policy, that is something that you would like to do before jumping on any sort of AI platform these days. So I would say, for instance, are you going to be sharing information that is sensitive with any AI platform? Are you okay with that? Would you be able to create um, will this platform need to have access to your customers' information? Are you okay with sharing that information? Because if you need customization for an email, you might have to share that information with the AI platform. So first of all, I will recommend taking a step back, creating that sort of AI policy. If you have that already, what I would recommend is whatever the platform you use, and we can discuss this offline. You can send me an email for a couple of lists of platforms, is picking one that you like in terms of usability. And let's say, well, I'm more familiar with ChatGPT for this moment, or I'm more familiar with Copilot, which is linked with chat, but you need to, the best one is the one that will be easy for you to use. So that's what I would recommend. And the moment you start using it, it will get smarter. And there are ways in which you can program the platforms to give you more accurate, whatever it is, questions or prompts or email templates or copy, short form copy, long form copy. I just don't recommend using multiple ones if you don't have an automation process behind, because otherwise they won't talk to each other. So I think it's worth spending time with one of them and making it smarter. But before all that, make sure that you understand your AI policies.
Thank you for the detailed response, Thiago. So for Estefania's clarification, so she was referring to homemade things like keychains, custom t-shirts, art, and art. And the question is, how will you approach a good branding, as she personally feels that the economic situation makes customers choose cheaper products?
That is true. We've been seeing a shift worldwide, because it used to be the case that people would aspire for a certain product of a certain brand. And it certainly is the case depending on the category of product. But with many players bringing products that are super cheap, at times we have an unfair competition. It's like comparing Etsy to Shein. It's unfair. One is artisanal and the other is mass produced. So that kind of separation already gives you a rough idea of who you should aim for, right? So I'm not saying it's simple. You will have to understand who you're selling to in more depth. But definitely, if you're looking to sell something that is craft made, you need to find people who value that. And those people are there, but there might be an adjustment of price point, and that will go back to your marketing plan and then to your business plan, how much you need to make to be profitable, etc. And that is something that Jumpstart can kind of help you with, but it's a little bit out of the marketing scope. But what I would say is, in your question is kind of the answer already, to start separating your customer in different clusters. So if you sell something that is artisanal, you need to create a story that supports that, to talk to people who value that. If you spend time creating products that are artisanal but need to look or need to be cheap, then it's a lost battle already, right? So that's just a way to start thinking about it. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it's doable.
Thank you for answering the question. Our next question is from Kelly. And the question is, we deal with both commercial and residential custom cabinets and all millwork or carpentry. What would be a great way to market our services in Northern Ontario, as it is a smaller market?
I think one of the best ways for services that are very specific is to go online for that. So if you have experience with Google Ads segmentation, and if not, there are other ways to do it as well. But Google usually offers credit for you to start promoting with Google, so it's almost like a risk-free experience, and they will provide you with a consultant at the time you're deploying that first amount of money in your account. They do campaigns for this, so it might be the case that right now they're not running one, but you can ask them directly, and they're more accessible for that than they look, because they're such a huge company, but that's where they make money. What I would recommend is, when we talk about the the target audience, we discussed the fact that by looking at demographic, psychographic, and behavioral, you can create a user that's the ideal user, right? With that information, you can create something online that is called a lookalike. And a lookalike is a profile that Google will basically try to copy and find others that fulfill most of that criteria. So in your case, let's say I'm looking for someone who recently bought a place or who recently in the Northern Ontario region searched for carpentry and millwork, those kinds of things. Or even better, if you know the demographics of the people who usually buy with you, men, women, 35 to 45, I don't know, but you probably know that. So all those data points can be used to create a lookalike that in a Google campaign and then in many other social media platforms too. But in this case, I would recommend starting with Google because they would have more information about your type of product. They can replicate and show your advertising pieces to those folks who are actively looking for that kind of service. So you wouldn't be spending money on people who are not actively looking for your type of service, right? So that would be my initial thought. Even for smaller markets, that lookalikes might work a great deal.
Thank you so much, Thiago. So our next question is from Dahlia. Is there a marketing strategy difference for a service-based business rather than a product-based business? If so, why and how?
I would say yes, there might be many differences, but one thing that I can state from the top of my head is that service businesses, usually the main difference that I see from my experience is that product-based businesses always have a product and development well built in their structure, while service business, forget that, they need to have a development section as well. So there needs to be on the marketing portion of it, how do I innovate in service? As we always have in people who work in the product industry, a portion of their business dedicated to innovation because it's easy to see, right? I will improve this, I'll connect this dot to that. The same thing needs to be going if you have a service business. This goes a little beyond the marketing scope, I would say, but it's also a portion of the marketing plan. So if you are in the services industry, you might be seeing that many of your players are offering the exact same thing. And many times, what I feel like, I used to work as a consultant for larger and smaller companies too. And what me and my team always identified is that when you're service-based, you're too focused on delivering the service and not focused on innovating on top of your service. And that's why many industries that operate in the services will end up with the same type of offering. So even if you're a small business, if you're in the service industry, always save some time to think about how can you innovate. Just think about product and development sectors and how you can bring that to your services business. What can I do differently from my competitors? And with that, you can create a differentiating factor.
Thank you, Thiago. So I guess based on time, we can answer one more question. The question is, and before I ask the question, for the questions that are in the chat, I've copied them. So you can either just drop your email in the chat if you're comfortable and we'll follow up. Otherwise, Thiago and Yash's emails are also on screen. So if you feel more comfortable asking them a question, you can also do that. But the last question that we have is, sorry, it is from Amal. It says, I'm working on car selling dealership and renovation of cars. I have more than 5 years of experience in my native country. What would you recommend?
I think that in itself looks like the beginning of a value proposition, right? So we discuss here, you might be missing the why in this, and I know this is just a question, so I'm being very picky on you, Amal, but the fact that you already have experience in your native country is something that you need to value, right? So when you think about that as the beginning of your journey, you can start there to tell your story, right? So what I'm seeing here is you're telling me what you do, and you're telling me a little bit of what makes you unique. Is there any type of service in your native country that that is a type of innovation here we might not have in Canada, or something different that you did there that you could implement here that could be seen as an innovation or a new method or a new way to do things, right? Is it faster? Is it more efficient? Is it, I don't know, but you certainly have the answer. So if you have 5 years, excuse me, of experience already, you can compare those two markets to see if in bringing that experience to a new landscape, you can use that in your favor to create a solid value proposition to then create a solid brand on top of that.
So we have another question from Beatrice. The question was, I'm still researching on the product that we intend to bring to the market. How can AI assist me in market research, specifically finding out the need and how it is currently being met? I don't know
I
if
can
you
jump
actually
in.
want to answer the question.
I can jump in and answer Beatrice's question.
Want me to
Yeah.
repeat the question?
Yeah, I can read out the question here. So I'm reading the question again. How can AI assist me in market research, especially finding out the need and how it is currently being met? So specifically when we go to AI for market research, now the tools are actually citing their sources on where the market research is actually coming from. So it's very important for first to know what kind of information or market research or the data is coming from. There are already great tools that can help you build strong, credible data based on your market research. But when you talk about certain tools, there is Perplexity, there is now ChatGPT also cites its sources. So it's very important when AI is giving us the answers, it's very important to know where the information is actually extracted from. It sometimes goes and extracts information from Asian markets and gives you in Canada. So it's very important that you are able to filter out the information that you need. All the essential platforms, whether you call it Gemini, ChatGPT, or Perplexity, they will give you a lot of market research data. But it's very important that we understand, what data is actually helpful to us and what data is actually factually correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Yash, for that answer. I don't see any more questions. The last one was a comment from Kelly, where she said to build on Thiago's ideas for expanding local visibility, I recommend showcasing your craft through before and after videos or short clips that highlight your process and attention to detail. You can also develop a portfolio page or brochure to feature your best project. Lastly, consider partnering with local builders and designers for referrals and encourage past clients to share their reviews to strengthen your credibility. Hosting workshops or sponsoring community events can also be a great way to engage the community and demonstrate your craftsmanship firsthand. And then I saw a hand go up and then down in the attendees. So whoever that was, you're welcome to unmute yourself as well.
I just want to thank you, Denai, Thiago, and Yash for your insightful presentations and the interactive Q&A. I will remind everyone that if you have questions about your entrepreneurship ventures and would like feedback from Jumpstart, you're welcome to get in touch with us at jumpstartrefugee.ca. And I'd like to just thank everyone for joining us today. And a quick reminder before we wrap up that we will share a short post-event survey, and we would really like your feedback. You'll find that in the follow-up email, where we'll also share the recording and the links that were promised to you earlier. We're very grateful for our partners and the fantastic speakers from CAMSC, and of course to all of you for joining us today. And we hope that you've enjoyed this as much as we have. I'll just say thank you and ask you to enjoy the rest of your day.